I'm gonna say continue.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to CMEA Base Section's Distance Learning Resource Series. I'm Bob Colonico, Adjudication Director, and today it is my pleasure to interview a good friend of mine, Dr. Timothy Yontz, Director of Bands and Head of Instrumental Studies at the Bauer School of Music at Florida Gulf Coast University in Fort Myers, Florida. Welcome, Tim, and thank you so much for joining us.
It's so good to be with you.
Tim and I met at a conducting symposium many years ago at University of Colorado Boulder and have stayed in touch ever since. So that's how far we go back. For those who haven't met you, Tim, tell us a little about your background and career.
Sure. Well, it's great to be with you. I grew up in Elkhart, Indiana, up in northern Indiana. I was told by a guidance counselor that I should go into pre-law. And so I went to Purdue University for 1 year. And then after about being there 2 weeks, I thought, well, I really want to be a music teacher. So then I transferred to Indiana University and graduated from there in 1984. Went on to get my master's degree then at Butler University in Indianapolis, and then a PhD in music education from the University of Nebraska. And taught a number of places, actually, Southern Indiana, Indianapolis, Omaha, Upper Wisconsin, was a fine arts coordinator in Kenosha, Wisconsin, recently made the news.
Yeah.
So I was a fine arts coordinator there for about 4 years. And then I was hired by Wheaton College in the Chicago area, just 25 miles due west of downtown Chicago, and taught at Wheaton for 11 years. Just came down here to Florida Gulf Coast University, just needed a change of pace and warmer weather. And so I came down here to Florida Gulf Coast University. This is my 3rd year here now as director of bands, and thoroughly enjoying it. Conduct the wind orchestra, teach some music education classes, an instrumental conducting class, 2 intro to conducting classes, instrumental methods, like I said, and then also just some other miscellaneous things along the way. But it's a really enjoyable place to be.
Oh, good for you. You mentioned all of your stops. How have those different roles as band director, high school teacher, college educator, administrator, how have those experiences guided your philosophy of teaching?
I would say probably the administrative position taught me the most and helped me in a lot of decision making that I've made since that job. One of the things that I realized about school administrators that I didn't know as a high school teacher, high school band director, and middle school band director was that those administrators are caught between a rock and a hard place all the time, every day. And it really opened my eyes to a different set of needs for the students and for the teachers. I would say that for the students, one of the things was that they need to see someone who's there for them, who really cares for them. And likewise, the teachers, I was responsible for about 105 art, music, and theater arts teachers. They really needed somebody who showed that they cared for them and was there for them. And I think that that's something that is lacking as school districts are trying to save money. And what they'll do is they'll do away with that position, unfortunately. Very important to help coordinate and help people through the process, and just coordinate lots of events and things like that. So I think that helped me a lot. I think it really helps me now to understand our director of the School of Music here at Bauer, and also when I was at Wheaton College, the dean of the conservatory there too, and try to help hopefully stay out of their way at times and let them do their job.
Very good. During the pandemic, how are you staying connected with colleagues and students?
I find that I'm actually more connected with colleagues. Students, of course, we don't have that face to face, which was always nice. I'm in my office now, and here, there would be a constant flow of students coming in, asking questions, and that sort of thing. Um, but I don't really have that. But what's nice is I have a booking program that they can schedule a time with me anytime that I'm available, and so we'll generally do that through Zoom. Colleagues, I'm more in touch with colleagues because we just Zoom a lot. We talk, we see each other. It's not just emails going. I'm sort of the philosophy that, if you're going to have a conversation on email, you shouldn't have that conversation anyway. It should be more of facts if you need to share facts and that sort of thing. So my past has been, if we need to talk about something, I'm going to call you. I'm not going to do it via email and carry on a conversation. So Zoom has been kind of a continuation of that, with actually being able to see them
Yeah.
and talk to them in that way too. It's been kind of a positive for me.
Okay, and with students, the same thing?
Yeah, I would say with the students, it's been really good because they really want to keep in touch with. I have to preface. I have to go back on that. They now really want to keep in touch with me as their professor. In the spring, when this all started in March, they were AWOL. It was hard to get in touch with them. And when I would get in touch with them, they looked like they had just woken up and they were just like, they were disheveled and unorganized and all that. And now it's become part of the norm for them, and it's been a lot better. So I find that that's really exhilarating. Um, I keep commending my students in my two conducting classes, my intro conducting classes, because the attendance is perfect. I mean, from the beginning for the last 6 weeks, it's been perfect,
Wow.
and that is something where I just feel really positive about, you know, wanting to get together with them and share new information, and it just seems to be working.
You made me think of another question while you were talking about this. I work with student teachers, and we have this constant discussion about content and contact. And can you talk about those two things? And you kind of alluded to it in your
Yeah.
interview there.
Yeah, the contact part of it has been more positive, of course, than last spring. The content part of it, I feel so much more comfortable with it. I mentioned that my students went AWOL. So did I.
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
We were told we were in a faculty meeting on Wednesday. On Thursday, we weren't told anything on that Wednesday. On Thursday, we were told on Monday you're not going to have classes on campus anymore. And for about the whole first week there, I barely contacted my students. I just told them be patient. I need to come up with a new plan. And then when I did come up with the plan, it was really bad. I mean, it was, if I were them, I would be totally like bored with what I came up with on that. So then what was nice is I had the whole summer to think about, okay, how am I going to make this interesting for them and me? Because it has to go both ways. And so, I thought, okay, these are the things that I do well. I can do those things online. Let's just do it. And so that's what I've done is I've really just pulled it all in. Any technology that we've needed here at Florida Gulf Coast University, we've been supported with. So anything that we need extra or whatever, we've got it. And so I just pulled all that in, and along the way, I've always tried to make my classes interesting and fun. Well, why not do that online? So, like even today in the intro to conducting class that I had just about a couple hours ago, we always do movement at the beginning and things like that, right? Because I got them moving. Well, and then somebody in the class was like doing this really cool dance, and so I could turn the camera on them because now I'm doing kind of a hybrid of some students are coming, some students are online. So I kind of turn the camera on them. And so, so there's John, he's dancing away, and people are online, they're laughing, and then they start dancing like John. And, it really is becoming more of like a community of learning again, instead of this us and them and trying to make this work and the technology's not working and that sort of thing. So it's working.
Okay, and this will be my first segue into if people want to contact you, Tim, how about giving them your email address, and if you got ideas to share.
Yeah, anytime they can contact me. And it's Yontz at fgcu.edu. I'll spell it. TyonTz, as in zebra, at FGCU, Florida Gulf Coast University.edu.
Okay, and we'll get that again for our colleagues a little bit later. Are there specific challenges or positives in distance learning for you?
Yeah, I think that for our campus and some of our students, it's actually a positive. Some things about it are positive. So we have a number of students. I'm finding this on a lot of campuses, the campuses that I've taught on, and that is that they have to work to put themselves through. And so it's kind of, for some of them, this is working pretty well because they can do their distance learning from home, and then they can go off and do their job, and then they can take an hour off for lunch or whatever and go to a class and still get in the work that they're doing and get the education that they're trying to get. Whereas I think when it was all on campus, I mean, I'm trying to see this as a positive. When it was all on campus, sometimes, I would get this like email or text, that would say, Dr. Yontz, sorry, I'm going to miss class today. I got called into work. I mean, like, what do you do to that? You
Right.
know? And so I'm a real stickler on attendance because my policy is you attend class, you pass class, you graduate, you go on and live your life. I mean, that's how it works. So, this has really been a positive for some of those students. And here's one of the challenges that we have that others may have, and that is that they may have a remote class at 8:30. And then at 9:30, I'm asking them to come in for the conducting class, which is what I'm going to be doing next week, because we're going to actually start conducting our live ensemble. So that's at 9:30, and then they have another remote class at 10:30. Well, where do they go for the 8:30 and the 10:30? That's the challenge that we're having. So I have to arrange for rooms beforehand and afterwards for them to, once they're done with my class or before my class, they've got a space to go to where they can do that. And then the campus has also done that in the library, but I hear it's kind of crazy. The students tell me it's kind of crazy to do that over there. Just a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just so things we didn't think about that now we have to kind of put in place.
Here's another spinoff. Just hearing you talk, what is the plan for rehearsing your ensemble live as of next week? So, what?
Yeah, well, this will be the students who are in. I have a section of 15 students in my one intro class, intro to conducting class, and then 9 students in my other one. And so they play as an ensemble or sing, and then the students conduct to that. So this is the first time that we're doing that. Um, if I could talk about my wind orchestra,
Mhm.
the our our band here, um, we I decided that for the first 2 weeks we would not get together. That was my choice, and then and I was supported by our administration on that. And then after the 2 weeks, I decided that I was going to go another week. Our numbers in Florida were really high, and I was waiting for them to come down
Right.
substantially.
Right.
So then I did another week. So the third week, fourth week, same thing. And so what I did was, I may be getting into one of your other questions, but
So,
what I did was I would have 3 students at a time. And so 2 of them would mute and the other one would play
got it.
parts. And the other 2 would play along with that. And then that way they could keep playing but I can only hear the one student, and then I would give comments. So we did that. I did like 17-minute sessions with like 10 groups to do that. So, and then I combined that. Now I combined it into 8, then I combined it into 4, And then yesterday, for the first time, we were in the we have parking garage. I got permission from the police here to use the third level of the parking garage. And so yesterday I had woodwinds and percussion for an hour, and then I had brass and percussion for an hour.
Great. And it's working out. You're,
The students were so excited to be back.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Yeah, and I would say I explained it to my director of the School of Music here with one word. I just said exhilarating. Just for me to be with them again, just felt so good.
That's great. And you've already talked about this a little bit, but how do you keep your students motivated and engaged? Have there been any issues there?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is uh, being being real upfront with them and saying, like at the beginning when I didn't meet with them for the first 2 weeks for any of my classes, and actually it turned into be 4 weeks of that, and I just wanted them to know that I was looking out for them and myself, and that I would do everything under my power to make sure that they were kept safe. So the rehearsal hall, I set up with the 6 foot distance, and every chair has blue tape around it, and one stand for each chair, and letting them know that our cleaning system, our air cleaning system here, because we have newer buildings, uh, is every 7 to 8 minutes. It totally recycles the air in the building. uh, I said seconds, I think minutes is what I meant. So 7 to 8 minutes. And so it does that. And then, just keeping them aware of those types of things. And then anytime that I started to have students come back slowly, I would say it's totally your choice. And if you choose not to, that's fine. We'll just keep you remote for that amount of time. And then letting them know that when they do come back, there's cleaner here. There's all sorts of the extra masks and everything that we have. We bought bell covers for all the instruments. We paid for everything that was needed for that to make sure that they knew that we were really trying to take care of them and stuff. So even this morning, I shared with my intro to conducting class. At the end of class, I said, "Hey, let me tell you what's going on in my life." I said, "My mom was diagnosed this morning with COVID. She's 83. She's in a facility up in Elkhart, Indiana. She's there because of she has dementia. And I just said, hey, what this means is that I was planning to go up there in 3 weeks. It just means that I'm may be going earlier than that, and somebody might be covering this class. I want to be just real honest with them and let them know that it's not just them dealing with it, or it's not just a peripheral thing. We're all in it together and working through it. But I want them to know too that they can be really honest with me and upfront if they feel threatened in any way. Yesterday's rehearsal out in the parking garage, first thing I said was, if you feel like you're not far enough away from the people around you, go ahead and just move your chair, move your stand, go wherever you want to go.
I, I just want to commend you on that, just realizing that it is all of us that are dealing with this frustration. It's frustrating for teachers, for students, you name it. Everybody is dealing with this.
Yeah.
And you're right, we're all in it together. So good for you. How do you personalize your instruction? You've also talked a little bit about this, but just for our audience members, just to tell you, I played under your baton. You are the most positive person I know. Go.
Well, I think that's a big part of it is that, well, an example, yesterday in the parking garage, we were working on a cakewalk from Suite of Old American Dances, the Bennett, right? And we were working on the Copeland variations on a shaker melody, right? So, but in the Bennett, there's these spots where it ends, and then in this parking garage, it just this.
Love that.
Yeah, and it's kind of reminiscent of my old marching band days, when you would be, doing something in the stadium or whatever. And I was at Indiana University, and so, I mean, marching band was about all we had there because we didn't have much of a football team. So it was, you know, one of those deals where those moments you just like, wow, that's great. And those are the things that I want them to appreciate. So I would stop at those moments yesterday, for instance, and go, just listen, enjoy that. Yeah, you know? So things like that. In the conducting classes, the same thing, you know. In the same way we treat our regular classes when our students are in front of us. You know, if there's a moment to teach something that, you know, maybe it's just this little nugget of information that a student brings up and you go, oh wow, that's great. Listen, everybody, this is what so and so said. And you know, I really try to pull them in and then and try to make both the remote and the students in the classroom feel like they're part of the whole process. I just think that's crucial. And the other thing that I try to do at the end of each session is I just say to all of them, you know, I just use the same two words: take care,
Ah,
take care. You
that,
know, and then just be human with them. Take care, and just a nice, you know, I'll wave, you know, to the people online and then to the people in class, and then we all disperse and it's done. And but just trying to make them feel like there still is that sense of community, which is what we all try to do in
that,
our classes and in our buildings and all that.
you've also talked about this a little bit, but for any of us who work with students in a performing group, the absence of the traditional rehearsals and performances is probably the biggest challenge. And you've talked a little bit how you're navigating that now, but maybe you can talk about this whole process when things shut down and how it impacted you and your students, which you did over the summer and now get,
Okay.
so go ahead.
Yeah, I was just uh, the week before we shut down, I was at my son's wedding in Nepal, and flew back. And on Wednesday, we had a faculty meeting. And on Thursday, we didn't discuss it at all in our faculty meeting on Wednesday about shutting down. And on Thursday, we were told that's it, we're done. We'll on starting Monday, it's all going to be remote. And I think it's just one of those things where it was everybody was sort of shell shocked by it. And what it did was we were getting ready for our final concert of the year. We had just finished a concert like a week before, 2 weeks before. And so we just had that concert, and then we had this other concert coming up. I had four seniors who were going to be playing a percussion quartet with us, with the ensemble, and I mean, it was, you know, it was going to be one of these great finale concerts for the year. Well, you know, we just kind of had to set that aside. And then over the summer, I decided, okay, what am I going to do to make it meaningful and at the same time realize that I don't want to everybody's under pressure. I don't want to put more pressure on them. I don't want to put more pressure on myself. So I looked at the music over the summer and I was really careful. Limited percussion because I knew that, you know, we wouldn't have a lot of time, or equipment wise, I didn't know how we were going to be able to use the equipment or keep it clean and all that. So limited percussion, parts that would be instead of, you know, grades 5 and 6 for my top ensemble, you know, more grade 4 type pieces and 4 pluses. So coming up with things like that that would work. So that was the plan. And so I've got that kind of in place at this point. And then you wait and see, because we didn't know until just a couple of weeks before school started that we were even going to be able to have classes on campus at all. And so that's when I made that decision that I'm going to wait for a couple of weeks when school starts. And actually, you know, Patrick Dunnigan up
Yeah.
Florida State, you know, we've been meeting, the directors in the state have been meeting every 2 weeks and just talking about certain things. And he mentioned that. He's like, you know, the first 2 weeks of school are just going to be crazy. So we've decided we're just not going to have, you know, we're not going to have on or on-site classes for those first 2 weeks and let things kind of settle down. Everybody kind of figure out what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I was just like, great, you know, I'm just going to go with that idea. And that's what I did. I'm so glad I did at the time. Um, And then, it came up to, well, we've got concerts scheduled for the fall and the spring of this next year. So I have a concert scheduled for tomorrow night. We're not doing it,
Yeah.
obviously,
Yeah.
right? And so what I told my students when we first started getting together, I just said, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to start working on music. When we get a program together, we'll just kind of announce it to the university community and to our community at large here. And here's my goal. I told them what my goal was, and that was to start rehearsing in that parking garage. And then the top of it is perfect for a concert under the stars. And I'm in Florida. I can do this, right?
Yeah.
Especially like in October, the humidity drops and it's just beautiful here in October, November. So the idea now is we're getting close to having some music ready. And all I'm going to do is we're going to put it on social media. We're going to announce it. And the goal is just to have a concert up there on top of the parking garage. Um, I love the idea because, you know, just to have music on campus, just have it heard. And we're close to one of the larger student housing units. For them to be able to hear that or know that they can just walk over and bring blankets or chairs and just sit and relax and do that up on the top of the parking garage would be super. The other thought I had was, and people kind of rolled their eyes about this at first, but now they're kind of like, wow, that's not a bad idea. And that is that elderly folks who maybe don't want to be out in public, but would love to just get in their car, they can pull into the parking garage, open their windows, and listen to the concert if they'd like.
I love it.
So that's kind of the plan right now, is that we're just kind of on, this constant lookout for, okay, what would be a good time for us now to maybe put a program together.
That's great. What are you doing with your conducting students?
With them, I've actually gone back to my dissertation where I use Lebon movement, yeah, Lebon dance movement,
Hmm.
and it's really helped out a lot in there. There's a lot of stuff that I did in my dissertation that now I can use in the class. That it's kind of interesting because I'm not sure why I kind of got away from it, but I think I got more into the technical aspect of it instead of the just relaxing feeling aspect of conducting. And So yeah, I've incorporated more of that into it. Um, I've slowed everything down. And I think that time off during the summer meant so much to everybody. You would go out for an evening walk and there'd be people out there walking with their families and they're riding their bikes and they're rollerblading and everybody's out. It felt like, being back in the 60s and 70s again.
Yep, I know what you mean. Yep.
It was awesome, but it made everybody slow down and just kind of rethink, okay, how do I want to really live my life? And I thought about that with my teaching. What do I really want them to understand? And is it really crucial that I have like all this stuff for them all the time? No. Let's get those fundamentals down, those basics, so that they can really feel good about what they're doing. I kind of went back to that and I feel good about it.
It's just a little sidelight. Just I noticed that here, just in our little community, just how families were reconnecting again. That okay, there's a lot of bad going on, but what it's done is brought families back together
Oh,
again,
yeah.
and I think it's fantastic. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, what about your music ed classes? What's going on there?
Well, I'm kind of planning ahead for that. That's going to be next semester. So that'll be like my instrumental methods class, preparing students for the student teaching and teaching secondary instrumental classes and that sort of thing. And I'm really kind of, I'm hopeful that by then we can have more of an on-site class. But, if we don't, I had more time over the summer too to kind of revamp that and kind of go back to my roots again and think about, okay, what were the things that were important to me when I first started teaching? Now that's 37 years ago now. So for me to look back 37 years and figure out, okay, what do I really need? I I did sort of get away from that. And it's easy because through the years you kind of reteach some of the same things, but
Mm.
then I started teaching some of the things that were the same things, but they were easy for me to teach versus things that I definitely felt like the students needed to know. So
Okay,
that's kind of the plan for that.
love it. We talked about this only briefly before I put on the record button, but uh, there are a lot of colleagues who talk about the shyness that they see in their students when they are playing solo excerpts for their teacher, and nervousness or shyness or whatever. Do you have any experience with that from your days, high school, or even with your college student?
Yeah, it's a great question because that was one of the questions that I had for our associate director of bands, Troy Jones here, um, when we were starting to do the three people online at a time and that sort of thing, because I was going to have them play by on their own and that sort of thing. Um, and he said, with this, he has the second two groups, and so he said with those groups, there might be a little bit of that shyness, but with your group, I have the wind ensemble, the wind orchestra here, and so I didn't expect that to happen because in class they're used to me doing that. So I might say to the fourth chair horn, "Hey, could you play that line? I just want to hear you. You know, I want to hear how you're doing that." Or I try to put a positive spin on it, so I try to say, "Wow, you're doing a great job with that. Could you play that for the rest of the sections so they can hear how you're playing that one note or that one measure or something like that?" So my students are used to it. And then as soon as he had his first online class, I went to Troy and I said, "So how do they handle it?" And he said they were fine. He said they were great. Yeah, and my students were the same way. Now, having been a high school band director and a middle school band director and elementary, I do know too that there could be that shyness. And I think instead of giving them, uh, as I think of it now, instead of giving them lots to think about, I've always tried to just keep it simple, super simple. In other words, if you know that so and so can only play that one measure or that one part of the measure, help them to be successful with that and then slowly add on to that. But they need that initial praise, and then you can build from there. And then once you get used to that, it's kind of like,
I hope everybody heard that. Did you all hear that initial phrase? That is key.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's kind of like if you have an ensemble that has never, like a wind ensemble, a wind band, okay, and they're not used to singing, right? And so you have a piece then where they have to sing.
Right.
That can be a real challenge. I had that happen when I was a high school director, and fortunately, I had a background in vocal music also at Indiana University, and so I could incorporate that in. But I had students who were just like they were not going to be part of that, you know. And so I understand the dilemma. But yeah, that's that initial praise, and then you just keep building on it.
All right. Have you had clinicians, guest artists, adjunct faculty work with your students during this time?
I really haven't that much.
Okay.
No, and I think that's a really great idea. I've been lining up people so that when this is all completed, when we're able to get everybody back together and feel like it's normal, then I've got some things in place and ready to go with that. But yeah, I think it's kind of early for me yet too. We're just in week 6 or week 7 of classes.
Do applied faculty participate at all in
They're
your?
all they're all doing remote,
Okay.
yeah, lessons.
Okay. Being the adjudication director, I have to ask you about this. What are your thoughts on festivals and competitions?
I think we just wait. I mean, that's my initial thought on it, and part of that is that we just have to. I'll put this bluntly. Okay, we need to think less about our egos and think more about the safety of our students and the safety of ourselves. And so I think if we just kind of we'll wait, we're going to be fine.
Okay.
You know?
What about in normal times? How do you feel about festivals and competitions?
Um, some of the same response about ego comes into play, right? I think it has to have that educational component to it, and if it has, if it, I'm not real fond of rankings. I'm not real fond of it. Just doesn't. There's something weird about it to me. I've done it all my life. I've 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 participated as a high school director, middle school director. I've done solo and ensemble, jazz festivals, concert festivals, marching band. I've done it all and did it and tried to find a way to make it educational. But as I get older, I kind of feel like there's something weird about quantifying how a group is playing. And we kind of sometimes we put them in that little box, like they have to sound and look and feel a certain way. And we have some very remote areas here in Florida where it's not going to,
Hmm.
just not going to. And when it is, I mean, it's a pleasant surprise. But for them just to edge up just ever so slightly, I mean, that's a celebration to me. When I am adjudicating, I do all that, not right now, but usually. But when I'm adjudicating, if I see just these little glimpses of, oh yeah, they're starting to edge into really understanding their color and that whole sound that they're trying to get and that representative sound. Now, those are the moments that I celebrate with them.
That's great. That's great. You said you haven't done any adjudication during the pandemic. What is it all shut down in Florida
Yeah,
also?
I think the other day I saw on Facebook, yeah, it is in Florida. But I saw on Facebook there was like one competition. I used to teach at University of Nebraska at Omaha, and I think there was like one competition out there just recently, and that was about it. And so yeah, it's all kind of dried up. Usually, I'm judging marching bands through the months of September, October, and sometimes even into November. And so and then in the spring, a lot of adjudicating of concert bands and that sort of thing too. So
Hmm.
yeah, and then our state assessment uh, process for our ensembles is just not happening this year
Right.
in Florida.
We're doing two solo ensemble festivals, one in late fall, so end of November, early December, and then another in the spring. And students can submit 2 to 5 minute videos. What's the plan in Florida? Are you doing anything in
Yeah,
terms of?
find out about that. I think they're still trying to figure out what they want to do on that, and I might be wrong on that. I'm kind of out of touch with it, and but I think that one of the things that we all knew was going to happen is that our state music conference is going to be remote, and that's in January up in Tampa, and it's usually like this really cool thing, and so I think people are a little bummed out about that, but I think it again. I'm just saying to people, let's just be smart about it, and we'll be more thankful for it when it returns.
Ah, see what I mean about him being so positive? I love it. Um, I'd like to just, you've talked a little bit about Lebon Method, and I want you to talk a little bit about your research, that, and then the work you've done with body language and all of that. So go for it.
Yeah. What's really cool is that right now, I guess we have had a guest come in. We're doing Feldenkrais in our conducting classes. We're doing like once a month. We're doing that movement, which is fantastic for our students. Be more aware of how their body moves and what it does, and the balance and all that. I talk about Alexander with them, so we go through that. Our warm-ups are a lot to do with Alexander technique. And then with Laban was, I was trying to figure out a way to incorporate just more natural movement into conducting. So it's not so boxy and, just what you usually see, right? So what I did as a grad student at University of Nebraska was I was trying to come up with a way to do that. And I came across Lebon notation, which is a notation that Rudolf Laban came up with to notate dance. And then that way a dance could be recreated after that. Hadn't been done before. And then I noticed that there were certain movements, but what he did was um, this is very cool. They had this dance farm where they'd go and work during the day at the farm, right? And so they'd be doing this and doing this. And then in the evening, they'd go into the barn or wherever and they would create a dance that went along with those movements.
How cool is this? Ah,
And I thought, well, that's just like conducting, because if you think about what we do, the best conveying that we do with our students is when they see something that they can understand, they can relate to. And so I took a lot of his ideas, I put it into conducting, and then compared those two, and the students love it because you have them do a bubble wand, right? One of those big bubble wands. Well, you have them do something like that, and all of a sudden you get this nice flow that you're trying to get them to do instead of
tut, tut, tut.
yeah, all that stuff going on. Yeah. So it just helps them to kind of feel that. So then in class you can say, "Hey, remember the bubble wand? That's what we want right there." So that's what I've tried to incorporate.
How does the body language interest and research work that you've done, how does it connect to this? Or go ahead.
What do you mean? In what way?
You've studied body language, right? And does it find its way into conducting for you or in your teaching?
It does, yeah. There's a lot of times that I'll say, because we'll videotape the students, of course, a lot, and I'll say, that movement or that facial expression that you're creating right there may be something that you do regularly, but it has nothing to do with the music. So how can we adjust that so that what you're doing completely shows the music instead of just a idiosyncrasy that you have personally? And so and it's kind of nice because, a class of 15 or a class of 9, like the two that I have right now, you can do that individually and you can do it in person and you can do it remotely.
For our colleagues who are experimenting with expression in their conducting, do you have some specific techniques you would suggest? Do you ever just, if a person is right hand dominant, do you ever say just conduct left-handed, just bass, different things? Just go ahead, talk.
Yeah, well, here's an example of something that we're doing right now. And I usually do it really well for them, except for the other day, I stayed up too late to watch the Packers trounce uh, New Orleans. Yeah, and so so it's funny. The next day, I was like doing it, and I was like, oh wow, this isn't working today. But basically, it's a circle. Like I have him do this circle with the right hand. Okay, and I'll tell them just it doesn't have to go same speed. It can go real slow, go real fast, and it's just a little example. But then I said, watch your fingertip. Make sure it's making that perfect circle. You want the perfect circle, not just an oval. Okay, so you got them doing that, and then with this hand, I'll have them do. And these are just really simple things, but we're talking. I talk to them a lot about muscle memory. Okay, this is muscle memory. All we're doing is we're trying to teach the brain that it can do all these different things all at the same time and which muscles it's using to do that. So then with the left hand, we're doing 4 up and 4 down, and then 4 out and 4 in, and that sort of thing. And we're doing that while we're doing
The circle, okay.
circle. Just little, like simple things. But what's nice is like I have them 2 days a week. Well, I see them on Monday. We do it, right? The first time, and they're like all over the place. They're trying to figure it out. And I'll say, okay, now focus just on the left hand. What is it doing? Now just focus on the right hand. What is it doing? And they'll fix those. And then we'll come back 2 days later and they'll do it again. And I'll say, it's better, isn't it? And they'll be like, So
It's
why is that? And then we can go back to music and say, in music, say you have a run of eighth notes, okay, and you're trying to get that run down on your instrument, okay. So you're trying to get that run, and then uh, you split it into 1 3 5 7, right, and then 2 4 6 8. That's exactly what we're doing here with your conducting. Is you're just going to split it up. So I'll have them do one hand, then I'll have them do the other, and then I'll say, okay, now put it together. Now the other thing is that while we sleep, our brains keep working. So that 1 3 5 7 2 4 6 8 that we did yesterday, our brain's still working on it at night. The next day we do it, and you can do it.
it's better.
So it's letting them know that they can take these different techniques in their conducting and do the exact same thing they're doing on their instruments.
Great. Tim, give me your email address one more time if anybody wants to contact you.
It's tyont@fgcu.edu. Tyont, Z as in zebra, at FGCU, Florida Gulf Coast University.edu.
Tim, I can't thank you enough for your time today. It's so great to see you, even remotely. I'll take it.
We'll see each other again together.
Sure of that. Anyway, thank you. Thank you from all of us. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Take care, Tim.
You too.